You're sitting in silence, but your mind is hosting a board meeting. 50 agenda items, the dental appointment for your son, your mother-in-law's birthday, the utility bill that's almost due, and the need to remember to remind him to do X, Y, and Z. Does that sound familiar? This is the invisible job, paid for with your own exhaustion. This burden, this nameless fatigue, is not your failure. It is the shared wound of so many women. In this video, we will not just name it, we will use the wisdom of Carl Jung to give you a map, a new language to explain this weight to your partner, a way to build a bridge, not another wall. Are you ready to make the invisible visible? You are the main character in this story, the silent CEO of the family, the only one in the home who sees the whole picture, who is always one step ahead, thinking for everyone except herself. You are tired, you are depleted, and perhaps you feel profoundly alone in that role. Think of a woman named Susan, 52 years old, a member of the sandwich generation. In a single hour, she arranges care for her aging mother, answers an urgent work email, texts her son about his homework, and realizes the refrigerator is empty for dinner. She hasn't done anything heavy, but when her husband comes home and asks, "Why do you look so tired?" she doesn't know where to begin. And the silent question that echoes in her mind is perhaps the one echoing in yours right now. Amidst all these roles, who am I? And how do I explain to the person I love that this exhaustion doesn't come from the things I do, but from the weight of everything I have to remember?
So let's return to that question. That feeling of trying to explain an invisible world to the person you love most. To understand why this is so difficult, we must first give the beast its proper name. It is called the mental load. And it is the silent, second job that millions of women in America work every single day. A job with no salary, no time off, and no recognition. It is not just the list of chores. Oh, it is so much more than that. Think of it like this. The mental load is not one job, it is 3 invisible jobs performed simultaneously inside your mind. The first job, you are the architect. You are the only one in the home who holds the complete blueprint. You don't just remember your son's dentist appointment. You are the one who knows it needs to be made in the first place. You anticipate the needs before they arise. You see the empty space in the pantry and already know what meal it will affect in 3 days. You are the strategist, the visionary, the one who draws the plans for the entire operation of a family's life. It is a constant, forward-looking hum of awareness. The second job, you are the supervisor. Once the blueprint is drawn, you must oversee the project. It is not enough to ask your partner to take your son to the dentist. You must remember to remind him. You must check if the appointment was confirmed. You must ensure the insurance card is ready. This is the endless loop of management, the remembering, the reminding, the following up. It is the emotional labor of holding everyone accountable for tasks they would likely have not even known existed without you, the architect. Every task delegated to someone else does not leave your mind. It simply moves to a different column on your mental spreadsheet, from to do to check on. The weight remains. And the third job, perhaps the most draining of all, you are the emotional thermometer. You are the keeper of the family's emotional weather. You don't just manage tasks, you manage feelings. You anticipate your child's anxiety about the dentist. You navigate your partner's frustration at being reminded. You absorb the disappointment when plans fall through. You are the buffer, the mediator, the safe harbor for everyone else's emotional storms, often while having no harbor for your own. Do you see it now? The architect, the supervisor, the emotional thermometer, 3 full-time roles running on a continuous loop inside of you. This is why you are so tired. It is not the act of washing a dish. It is the weight of knowing the dish is dirty, knowing you are the only one who will ultimately ensure it gets clean, and knowing you must manage everyone's feelings about the dirty dish in the process. But this is where the conversation usually stops. This is where you try to explain these 3 jobs and are met with that same painful look of confusion. And that is why the exhaustion never ends. Because we are not just talking about tasks, we are talking about identity. And this is where Carl Jung offers us a profound key. Jung spoke of the persona. The persona is the mask we wear, the version of ourselves we present to the world. For many women, especially in our culture, that persona is one of competence. The good mother, the capable wife, the organized professional, the woman who has it all together. Our society hands us the script for this persona from a very young age. We are praised for being helpful, for being organized, for anticipating the needs of others. We build this identity, this mask, piece by piece. It becomes who we believe we are supposed to be. Now, connect the dots. The mental load is the immense, invisible psychological energy required to keep that persona from cracking. It is the frantic, backstage work of a flawless theater production. The audience only sees the perfect performance. They don't see the stagehands running in the dark, fixing the broken prop, whispering the forgotten line. You are the entire backstage crew. The deep, bone-weary exhaustion you feel does not come from doing the laundry. It comes from the profound, unconscious fear of what it would mean if the laundry wasn't done. It would mean a crack in the mask, a flaw in the persona of the capable woman. It feels like a personal failure. And this deep connection to our identity, this terror of failing the role we believe we must play, is the very reason it is almost impossible for our partners to see it. It is why you can explain it 1,000 times and still be met with that same painful look of confusion. To understand that confusion, we must be willing to step into his inner world for a moment. We must understand the bridge we need to build. And that is where our journey goes next.
This journey of explaining the mental load is not a confrontation. It is a translation. You have been speaking a language of deep, intuitive, systemic awareness, the language of the architect. Perhaps your partner speaks a language of linear, focused, concrete tasks, the language of a craftsman. Neither language is wrong. They are simply different. The exhaustion comes from expecting him to understand your language without ever giving him a dictionary. This is the dictionary. These are the steps to build the bridge. The first step, the first act of translation, is to name the unconscious. Think of it like going to a doctor. A vague, terrifying ache that you have felt for years is suddenly given a diagnosis, a name. The pain is still there, but the fear of the unknown begins to recede. It becomes a manageable condition, not a nameless monster. This is the power of language. The next time you feel that wave of overwhelm, instead of saying, "I'm so stressed," or "I have to do everything," which can sound like an accusation, try this. Wait for a quiet moment and say, "I think I'm experiencing the mental load right now." That's it. You are not blaming, you are naming. You are taking a formless, invisible feeling and making it a concrete, objective, shared concept. You are inviting him to look at the problem with you instead of making him feel like he is the problem. This single shift can change the entire energy of the conversation. But naming it is only the beginning. The next step is to make the invisible visible. And for this, we use one of the most powerful tools in Jungian thought, active imagination, through a simple metaphor. I call this the iceberg exercise. I want you to take out a piece of paper. You can pause this video and do it right now. Draw a line across the middle. Above the line, draw the small tip of an iceberg. Below the line, draw the massive, hidden body of the iceberg. Now, let's take a simple task. For example, your son's dentist appointment. At the very top of the iceberg, in the small, visible part, write down the task itself. Drive son to dentist. This is the part your partner likely sees. It is a single 1-hour event on a calendar. Now, in the massive space below the water, we are going to write down the invisible work, the mental load. Let's begin. Realizing it has been over 6 months since the last checkup, finding the dentist's number, calling the office during work hours, coordinating available times with your own schedule, your son's school schedule, and your partner's schedule, booking the appointment, putting it on the family calendar, remembering to ask your boss for time off, arranging for your other child to be picked up, filling out the insurance forms the night before, reminding your son about the appointment so he isn't anxious, reminding your partner about the appointment. The list goes on and on. All of that is the iceberg, the 90% that is hidden beneath the surface. When you show him this piece of paper, you are no longer speaking in abstracts. You are showing him a map of your mind. For the first time, he may be able to see the sheer scale of the invisible operation you are running. It is a moment of profound revelation. And that revelation leads to the third and most transformative step, breaking the archetype. This is where we go deeper into Jung's wisdom. We must understand the fundamental difference between helping and sharing ownership. Helping is when your partner performs a task from the top of your iceberg after you have done all the invisible work below. When he helps with the dishes, it is often after you have already planned the meal, bought the groceries, cooked the food, and asked him to help. The act of helping, though appreciated, still keeps you in the role of the manager, the supervisor. The weight of the iceberg remains on your shoulders. Sharing ownership is when you hand him an entire iceberg. This is about breaking the unconscious societal script, the ancient archetype that Jung would call the Great Mother, the all-providing figure who is expected to know and manage all things. Sharing ownership is the act of consciously releasing yourself from that role. It sounds like this. From now on, you are the chief health officer of this family. You own the entire iceberg of the children's health. This means you are responsible for knowing when their checkups are due, for making the appointments, for managing the insurance, for taking them to the doctor. I am fully taking my mind off of it. I trust you completely. Do you feel the shift? It is a transfer of an entire mental domain. It is not delegation. It is abdication. You are not just asking for help with a task. You are inviting him to step into a role of true co-equal partnership. You are giving him the profound gift of allowing him to carry the full, sacred weight of a piece of his family's well-being. It is a radical act of trust. It can be frightening to let go of that control, but that control is the very source of your exhaustion. This is the path from being a manager back to being a partner. And now that we have the tools, we must talk about how to use them, how to begin this delicate and life-changing conversation. So we have the tools now, the dictionary, the map of the iceberg, the concept of shared ownership. But there is a reason so many of us hold on so tightly to the role of the manager. There is a reason we are afraid to let go. The control you are so afraid to lose is not your power. It is your prison. For years, That control has felt like a shield, a way to ensure that nothing falls through the cracks, a way to protect your family, and a way to protect your own identity as the capable woman. But a shield that you can never put down becomes a crushing weight. You have been carrying it for so long, you have forgotten what it feels like to stand upright without it. The greatest lesson of this journey, the true act of self-sovereignty, is to understand that you have the right and the responsibility to protect your own mental space. Your mind is not a public service. It is not an open-plan office for the entire family's problems. It is a sacred garden. And for too long, you have allowed everyone else to trample through it, while you were busy tending to their gardens instead. Letting go of the manager role is not an act of failure. It is not admitting defeat. It is the most radical act of self-care you can perform. It is saying, my inner peace is not negotiable. My energy is not an infinite resource. I am choosing to tend to my own garden now. So, how do we begin? How do we apply this deep Jungian wisdom into the messy, beautiful reality of our daily lives? You do not start with a revolution. You start with a single, deliberate, sacred act of trust. You practice what I call purposeful handover. This is not a frustrated sigh and saying, "Fine, you do it." That is abdication born from anger. Purposeful handover is born from wisdom. It requires you to sit down with your partner during a quiet, peaceful moment, not in the middle of a chaotic morning, not when you are already exhausted at night. A moment of connection. And you choose one iceberg, just one. Perhaps it is the children's health. Perhaps it is the family finances. Perhaps it is planning the weekend activities. You choose one entire domain, and you say the words we spoke of earlier. You look him in the eye and say, "From this moment on, you are the chief health officer of our family. I am handing you the entire iceberg, not just the task of driving them to the doctor, but the responsibility of knowing when they need to go, of making the appointments, of managing the paperwork. I am taking my mind off of it completely because I trust you." Do you feel the resistance in that? That small panic that says, "But what if he forgets? What if he doesn't do it right?" That is the feeling of the shield beginning to lower. It is uncomfortable, it is frightening, and it is necessary. Because this act does two profound things. First, it liberates you. It removes an entire continent from your mental map. A whole department in your internal head office is closed down. The energy that was used to manage that domain is now returned to you. And second, it honors him. You are not treating him like a junior employee who needs to be managed. You are treating him like a co-CEO. You are giving him the space to show his care and his competence in a way that is tangible and complete. You are replacing your reminders with your respect. He may not do it exactly the way you would. He may forget once. He may need to learn the system, and you must allow that. You must honor the process, because his way of caring is just as valid as yours. This is the real work of partnership. It is a dance of trust and release. It is messy, and it is the only way back to each other. So I want to leave you with this, a small, quiet action. Think about your own life, your own mental load. What is the one iceberg, the one domain that feels the heaviest right now? What is the one area of your life where you could practice a purposeful handover? You don't have to do it tomorrow, but just for a moment, imagine it. Imagine handing that weight to him, not with resentment, but with love. What would that feel like? That feeling, that lightness, is not a fantasy. It is the beginning of coming home to yourself.
We have traveled far today, from the silent, frantic hum of an invisible CEO's mind to the deep psychological roots of why this exhaustion feels so personal, from the pain of feeling misunderstood to the quiet power of holding a new language in your hands. You now have the map of the iceberg. You have the sacred words of purposeful handover. You have the keys, not to win a fight, but to open a door. For so long, the role of the manager has felt like your identity, a heavy shield you believed you had to carry to keep your world from falling apart. But the deepest truth of this journey is this: that shield was never your power, it was your cage. And the control you were so afraid to lose was the very thing keeping you from the connection you crave. Laying down that shield is not an act of surrender. It is an act of profound courage. It is the moment you declare that your inner peace is no longer up for negotiation. It is the moment you stop managing a household and start co-creating a life. This conversation, this gentle act of translation, is one of the greatest gifts you can give to your relationship. You are not just asking for help, you are inviting him back in. You are giving him a chance to see you, truly see you, not as the ever-capable manager, but the woman he fell in love with, the partner who longs to walk beside him, not 10 steps ahead of him. It will not be perfect. It will be a dance, a delicate, sometimes clumsy dance of trust and release, but it is the dance of true partnership. It is the path back to each other. And so I ask you to close your eyes just for a moment. Imagine that one iceberg, that one domain of worry you thought of earlier. Imagine gently, lovingly placing it in his hands. And as you do, you feel the weight lift from your shoulders. You feel the space in your mind begin to open up. You feel yourself breathe, perhaps for the first time in years. That feeling, that lightness, is your birthright. It is the beginning of coming home. And so, as a declaration to the universe, a quiet promise to yourself that you are ready to reclaim that peace, I invite you to go to the comments below and simply write the words, "I am laying the burden down." Let this be your first step, a sacred anchor for the journey ahead. But I must be honest with you. Laying this burden down, this heavy shield of the manager, can reveal a tender and sometimes painful truth. What happens when the role of manager has been played for so long that it has reshaped the very landscape of your intimacy? What do you do when you look at your partner and you see not a lover, but another child to care for? That is the fragile territory we will explore together in our next video. It is a journey into the heart of connection and how to find your way back when you feel lost. In that video, you will find new tools to help you rekindle your own inner fire and reestablish a partnership of equals. Until then, be gentle with yourself. The journey back to each other and back to yourself begins now.